What if your Roth IRA was costing you $92,000 and you didn't even know it? Well, it's happening to millions of Americans right now through simple everyday mistakes that seem harmless until it's too late. And no, this isn't some obscure tax code loophole, just everyday mistakes that look harmless now but quietly cost you big later. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 10 of the most expensive Roth IRA mistakes people make, often without realizing it. For each one, I'll break down exactly what the mistake is, why it happens, how much it could cost in dollar amounts, and most importantly, how to avoid it. In the end, I'll show you how all these mistakes add up to over $92,000 without you even knowing it. Before I show you that, let's quickly break down what a Roth IRA and traditional IRA actually are, because the differences matter more than you think. A traditional IRA is like a tax-deferred piggy bank. You put money in, usually get a tax break up front, and your investments grow over time. But when you retire and start pulling the money out, that's when Uncle Sam comes knocking. Every withdrawal is taxed as income. Now, a Roth IRA flips the script. You pay taxes now before you put money in, but then your investments grow tax-free. And the best part? When you withdraw in retirement, you keep every penny. No taxes, no surprises. Both accounts help you save for retirement, but the when and how you're taxed can change your future in a big way. Now let's create a simple scenario that'll help you and John avoid the $92,000 loss. Let's say John is in his 40s. He's been disciplined about saving and now has $100,000 sitting in his retirement account. It's a mix of Roth IRA and traditional IRA dollars, and he's planning to let it grow for the next 20 years. But here's the thing, how John manages this $100,000 today will determine whether he retires with $386,000 or far less. Every decision he makes along the way, contributions, rollovers, withdrawals, has the power to either build his wealth or quietly erode it. So let's walk through 10 costly Roth IRA mistakes that John and possibly you need to avoid, because doing so could protect up to $92,000 of potential gains and savings on that same $100,000. Let's talk about the biggest traps that could silently eat away at your retirement savings and how to avoid them smartly. Starting with number 10, thinking of your Roth IRA as mad money. Picture this, you've already maxed out your 401k, you've been watching CNBC, and now you're eyeing your Roth IRA like it's your playground for risk. Maybe you're tempted to throw your Roth into that new EV ETF, meme stocks, or even some shiny AI crypto coin someone mentioned on Reddit. After all, it's your extra money, right? That's the trap. While a Roth IRA may feel like a side hustle account, it's actually one of the most powerful long-term investment tools you've got. Contributions grow tax-free, and the compounding over decades can turn a few $1,000s into a six-figure treasure chest if you play it smart. Let's say John earns around $80,000, has saved around $100,000 in his Roth IRA, and invests it in a simple balanced portfolio averaging 7% over 20 years. He'd end up with about $386,000, and remember, it's all tax-free. But what if John gets overconfident and treats his Roth like a sandbox for risky bets? Maybe he loads up on speculative crypto, meme stocks, or trending sectors with wild volatility. That kind of misallocation, even if it only drags his average return down to 5.5%, could leave him with just $292,000. That's a difference of $94,000. We'll conservatively say John loses $4,600 in future growth just from this behavioral mistake alone. By misallocating funds or treating your Roth like a tool for gambling, you risk sabotaging one of the only tax-free growth vehicles available to everyday investors. A target date fund, broad market ETF, or balanced portfolio might sound boring, but boring builds wealth. If you structure your Roth IRA with core, diversified holdings from the start, you're stacking the odds in your favor. This mistake alone can easily cost you $4,000 to $5,000 over time in lost growth or bad investment calls. And here's the irony. Those risky plays? You can do those elsewhere. But in a Roth IRA, that's where your most dependable long-term tax-free compounding should be happening. So if you're tempted to YOLO your Roth IRA into niche crypto tokens, stop and ask yourself, is that really where you want your tax-free wealth engine going? Moving on to number 9, not planning for the second half of retirement. When you think about retirement savings, it's easy to obsess over one question: how much can I save? But saving is only half the game. The second half? That's all about withdrawing your money wisely. And not having a plan for that phase could wipe out thousands in avoidable taxes. Let me explain. When you stash your cash in a traditional IRA, you get that sweet upfront tax deduction, but at a cost. You're deferring taxes until you withdraw, and in retirement, your withdrawals are taxed as income. Now, many people assume that they'll be in a lower tax bracket later, but with national debt climbing past $36 trillion and U.S. tax rates still near historical lows in 2025, what if your future tax rate is higher, not lower? That's the issue. Most people only plan for the accumulation phase, growing the pot. But the distribution phase can be just as financially dangerous if you're not prepared. Let's get back to John with his $100,000 in a traditional IRA. He's focused on growing it, but he hasn't given much thought to how he'll take money out in retirement. Here's where things go sideways. If John simply starts withdrawing at retirement without a tax plan, he could end up paying 22% in taxes on each dollar, losing about $22,000 in total over 20 years. But what if John had a Roth IRA too and used a smart withdrawal strategy, blending distributions or doing partial conversions now? He could shrink that tax bill significantly. By planning the second half of the journey, not just the saving part, John realistically saves $4,000 in taxes on the same $100,000. Roth IRAs solve part of this problem because those withdrawals, they're tax-free. But to benefit, you need to start planning early. Ideally, you should have a tax-smart mix, some traditional, some Roth. So when the time comes, you can pull money in a way that keeps your tax bill low. Number 8 on today's list of mistakes: converting to a Roth all at once. So you've realized the Roth IRA is your golden ticket to tax-free income, and now you're thinking, I should convert my entire traditional IRA into a Roth right now. That's a bold move, but potentially a very expensive one. See, Roth conversions can be smart, especially if you expect your income and tax rates to rise in the future. But converting a big chunk of money in a single year could throw you into a higher tax bracket and trigger a massive tax bill. Now, John's thinking, why not just convert my whole traditional IRA into a Roth right now? He wants future tax-free income, which is smart, but doing it all in 1 year adds $100,000 to his taxable income. That pushes John from the 12% bracket into the 22% range, because before moving the funds, he was earning around $80,000, which fell under the tax bracket of 12%. Now, moving the whole amount is considered a withdrawal first, meaning for the year, his taxable income would be $100,000, that withdrawal, plus $80,000 in income. So his total income for the year would be $180,000, and hence the 22% tax bracket, and around $30,000 in taxes. Had he converted $16,000 per year over 5 years, he could have stayed in the lower bracket, paying around $12,000 in total taxes. That's an $18,000 difference. But here's where people get it wrong. You don't have to go all in. You can do it gradually. The IRS lets you do partial conversions every year. You can convert $16,000 per year instead. That keeps you in a lower bracket, spreads the tax bill, and slowly shifts your money into tax-free territory without torching your current finances. This laddering approach can save you so much in tax costs compared to a full one-time conversion. Plus, you still get the benefit of long-term tax-free growth. And if the market dips, your account value goes down, and that's actually the perfect time to convert. Why? Because you're paying taxes on a temporarily lower value. And when the market rebounds, all those gains happen inside your Roth untouched by the IRS. In short, don't be in a rush to convert everything at once. A smarter, smaller, strategic Roth conversion plan gives you the best of both worlds: controlled taxes now and full freedom later. Number 7 on our list is breaking the rollover rules. Okay, now let's talk rollovers, specifically the kind of mistake that can blindside even seasoned investors. Here's the scenario. You switch jobs, you've got a 401k at your old workplace, and you want to move that money into an IRA. Sounds simple, right? But here's where the IRS has a little trap. There's a rule that says you can only do one IRA to IRA rollover per 365 days. That's not one per IRA, that's one rollover total across all your IRAs. Do two, even by accident, and boom, you've just triggered a tax bomb. Let's play with John's money to better understand this. So he decides to move money from one of his IRAs to another after a job switch. He thinks it's simple, just roll it over manually. But he doesn't realize the IRS only allows one indirect IRA to IRA rollover per year across all IRAs. He does it twice. Oops! The second transfer, the IRS treats as an early $20,000 withdrawal. As we mentioned earlier, let's say John is earning around $80,000. The extra $20,000 withdrawal will push him to the 22% tax bracket. Now, John owes 22% income tax on it, $4,400, plus a 10% early withdrawal penalty of $2,000. That's $6,400 down the drain just because of a timing rule. Now here's the trick to avoid all that. Do a direct transfer, not an indirect rollover. A direct transfer means the money goes straight from one account provider to another. No check in your hands, no risk of messing it up. And direct transfers aren't subject to that one per year rule. The problem is, a lot of people don't know this. They think all rollovers are treated the same and they end up getting burned. Don't be one of them. Knowing the rollover rules isn't optional, it's a requirement for protecting your savings. So if you're making changes to your IRA, always ask, is this a direct transfer? If not, pause, because even a single mistake here can cost thousands, and the IRS rarely gives do-overs. Okay, so far we've saved about $33,000 in taxes. In the next few steps up to number 1, I'll show you and John how to avoid mistakes that could save a combined total of over $92,000. Number 6 on our list of mistakes, rolling over the money yourself. Now, let's say you're doing a rollover and the check is made out to you. You think, oh cool, I'll just move it to my new IRA when I get around to it. That's a big mistake. Here's why. If you take possession of that money, even just for a day, you've triggered an indirect rollover, and that comes with serious risk. You only have 60 days to get that money into your new IRA, or the IRS treats it as a withdrawal. And if you're under 59 and a half, you're now looking at income taxes plus a 10% early withdrawal penalty. Let's break that down. John does a rollover, but the check is made out to him personally. He gets distracted, life happens, and forgets to deposit it into his new IRA within the IRS's 60-day window. So now, that full $100,000 is treated as a distribution. He owes $22,000 in income taxes and $10,000 in early withdrawal penalties on this alone. That's a catastrophic $32,000 hit. Even if John catches it and redeposits a partial amount, missing the window even once could still cost him thousands. Let's say he delays with $15,000 of the transfer and pays around $3,800 in taxes and penalties. That's still a preventable loss. And here's the worst part, some people use that money temporarily. They basically borrow it for a big purchase or an emergency, thinking they'll pay it back before the 60 days are up. But life happens, and suddenly that repayment money isn't there when it needs to be. So if you absolutely must do an indirect rollover, you need to be extremely careful. Document everything. Track the date the money hits your account and set reminders to get it transferred correctly within the window. But honestly, just avoid the risk altogether and go with a direct rollover. That simple switch, letting the financial institutions handle the transfer, can save you thousands in surprise taxes and penalties. It's one of those boring but brilliant moves that keeps your retirement plan safe. So now collectively, avoiding this mistake along with the last one, you're looking at $8,000 to $9,000 saved, maybe more, depending on how much you're transferring. Avoidable mistake number 5, another tax trap, Roth conversions and the pro rata rule. Now let's look into one of the sneakiest traps in the Roth conversion playbook, something most people don't learn about until it's too late, the pro rata rule. If you've got a mix of pre-tax and after-tax money in your traditional IRA, the IRS doesn't let you cherry-pick and just convert the after-tax portion tax-free. No, they look at your entire IRA balance when calculating how much the conversion is taxable. Let me explain further here. John hears about backdoor Roth conversions and decides to convert $10,000 of after-tax money from his traditional IRA, but there's a catch he doesn't see coming. His IRA also contains $90,000 of pre-tax money, and thanks to the pro rata rule, the IRS doesn't let him convert just the after-tax portion tax-free. Instead, the IRS sees it all as one big account. So when John converts $10,000, only 10% is after tax and tax-free. The remaining $9,000 is considered pre-tax and now taxable. With his income already at $80,000, that $9,000 pushes him to $89,000 in taxable income, which still keeps him within the 12% tax bracket for 2025. So instead of a free conversion, he now owes $1,080 in taxes just on this move alone. And if he keeps converting more without restructuring his accounts, that tax bill adds up fast, $3,000 to $4,000 or more over time. So what's the solution here? If you're planning a backdoor Roth conversion, try to do it when you have no pre-tax IRA balance. That may mean rolling your traditional IRA into a 401k, which doesn't count towards the pro rata calculation, before doing the conversion. It's a bit of a dance, but getting it right could save you $4,000 to $6,000 or even more, depending on your IRA size and tax bracket. That's money you keep working for you instead of handing it over in taxes. Okay, you've now seen 6 major mistakes that, if avoided, can conservatively protect $50,000 to $60,000+ in long-term savings and tax advantages. And I'm not done yet. In the next 4 mistakes, I'll show you how you can save upwards of $20,000 to $30,000. The number 4 mistake, ignoring QCDs, or qualified charitable distributions. Let's talk about a tax-saving hack that sounds too good to be true but is 100% real. It's called a QCD, or Qualified Charitable Distribution. And if you're 70 and a half or older, this could be one of the best-kept secrets in retirement planning. If you're taking money out of a traditional IRA and you're also feeling charitable, you can donate up to $100,000 per year directly from your IRA to a qualified nonprofit, and that donation, it doesn't count as income. Normally, when you withdraw from a traditional IRA, that money is added to your taxable income for the year, but with a QCD, the IRS essentially looks the other way. You don't get a deduction, but you get something even better. You exclude the amount from your income altogether. That lowers your taxable income, possibly reduces your Medicare premiums, and even helps you avoid higher tax brackets. Now, here's the part most people miss. This QCD also counts towards your required minimum distribution, or RMD. So instead of pulling out money you don't need, paying taxes on it, and then donating it, you just send the money directly from the IRA to the charity. No taxes, no paperwork headaches, just a cleaner, smarter way to give. Okay, let's get John back into the picture. He's now 71 and feeling generous. He donates to charity every year, but he's doing it the hard way, taking money out of his traditional IRA, paying taxes on it, and then making donations. If John simply directed the donations straight from his IRA through a qualified charitable distribution, that money wouldn't count as income. No taxes, no paperwork headaches. Let's say he donates $8,000 per year and misses this for just 5 years. That's about $960 per year in taxes at his 12% rate, nearly $4,800 wasted. Let's be conservative and say John could have saved $3,700 in taxes over a few years with QCDs. But more than that, ignoring QCDs for a few years, that adds up. Many retirees lose $5,000 to $7,000 over just a few years by not using this strategy. And the best part? You don't need to itemize deductions. Even if you take the standard deduction, which most people do after age 65, you can still benefit from QCDs. It's like getting a custom tax loophole built just for retirees who want to give. So if you're approaching 70 and a half or know someone who is, this is a strategy worth planning for now. Future you and your favorite nonprofit will thank you. Moving on to mistake number 3, contributing too much. Now let's switch gears and talk about another mistake, putting in too much money. And yes, this is actually a problem. Every year, the IRS sets strict contribution limits for Roth IRAs. For 2025, you can contribute up to $7,000 if you're under the age of 50 or $8,000 if you're 50 years of age or older. But it's not just about the dollar amount. You also need to meet income eligibility. If your income is too high, your contribution limit starts to phase out. And if you make too much, you can't contribute at all. In 2025, the phase-out begins at $146,000 for single filers and $230,000 for married couples filing jointly. Now here's where it gets messy. If you accidentally contribute too much either by dollar amount or by ignoring those income limits, you face a 6% penalty every year on the excess contribution. That might not sound like much, but it adds up fast. Let's say John gets a bonus at work, throws extra money into his Roth IRA, everything looks great. Sounds good, except he forgot the income limit. His adjusted gross income was too high, and now he's over-contributed. The IRS hits him with a 6% penalty on the excess every year it stays in the account. Let's say he mistakenly contributes $3,000 too much and doesn't notice it for 3 years. That's $540 in penalties and possibly taxed growth on top of that. If he misses this for multiple years or keeps doing it, it adds up fast. Let's assume a fair cost here of $3,500 in penalties and lost earnings. Many people don't notice this mistake for years, and suddenly they've paid over $1,000 to $2,000 in penalties, all for a few $100s over the line. And this usually happens to people who are trying to do the right thing. Maybe your income increased unexpectedly. Maybe you got a year-end bonus. Maybe you just miscalculated. The fix? Stay aware of the income limits and contribution caps every year. And if you do go over, fix it quickly. Withdraw the excess before the tax deadline and avoid carrying those penalties forward. Getting the details right can save you thousands in long-term penalties and makes sure your money stays invested, not penalized. The number 2 mistake on our list is missing out on a spousal IRA. If you're married and only one of you earns an income, here's a simple question. Are you missing out on an extra $7,000 to $8,000 per year in tax-advantaged savings? Because that's exactly what happens when couples overlook the spousal IRA rule. Normally, to contribute to an IRA, you need earned income, but there's one major exception. If you're married and file jointly, the working spouse's income can cover contributions for both of you. That means even if one spouse doesn't work outside the home, they can still have a fully funded IRA in their own name. Let's say John's wife isn't working this year and they file taxes jointly. He contributes to his Roth IRA but forgets he can also fund a spousal IRA for her, even though she has no income. That's another $7,000 per year they could be investing tax-advantaged. Over 10 years, that missed contribution would have grown to around $100,000 with average returns of around 7 to 8%. Even at just 5% growth, it's nearly $90,000. John may have lost an opportunity worth 6 figures, but to stay consistent, we'll assign a conservative cost of $4,100 in lost tax-free compounding. And remember, each IRA is owned individually. That means your spouse can choose their own investment strategy and you can optimize both accounts in different ways. Maybe one is more aggressive, one more conservative. It's a simple move with massive upside, and yet it's commonly overlooked. Don't leave half your retirement potential on the table. Finally, our number one mistake is misunderstanding inherited IRA rules. Let's wrap this up with one of the most emotionally and financially charged mistakes. What happens when you inherit an IRA? Whether it's from a parent, spouse, or other relative, inherited IRAs come with their own set of rules, and misunderstanding them can trigger massive, unnecessary taxes or even IRS penalties. Here's what most people don't realize. You can't just treat an inherited IRA like your own. The rules depend on your relationship to the deceased. If you're a surviving spouse, you can roll the IRA into your own and treat it like any other retirement account. But if you're a non-spouse beneficiary, things get more complicated fast. Under the current rules, most non-spouse beneficiaries must fully deplete the inherited IRA within 10 years. That's the 10-year rule. And while you don't need to take required minimum distributions each year, you must empty the entire account by the end of that decade. Here's the problem. If you wait until the last year to withdraw everything, that lump sum will count as income in that year. And if the account is large, let's say John inherits a $100,000 IRA from a relative, instead of slowly withdrawing funds over 10 years as allowed, he waits until year 10 and pulls the full amount in one go. That $100,000 hits his income all at once, bumping him into a high tax bracket, and he ends up paying 22% or $22,000 in taxes. If he had spread withdrawals out, his tax bill could have been closer to $10,000 to $12,000 or none in the most efficient case. So let's recap 10 Roth IRA mistakes and how much they could cost if left unchecked. Treating your Roth like mad money? That's $4,600 lost. Not planning withdrawals smartly? Another $4,000. Going all in on a Roth conversion? Up to $18,000 in unnecessary taxes. Breaking rollover rules? That's $6,400 gone. Missing the 60-day rollover window? A brutal $32,000 hit. Ignoring the pro rata rule? Easily $4,000 in surprise taxes. Skipping QCDs? $3,700 wasted. Over-contributing? $3,500 in penalties. Forgetting the spousal IRA? That's $4,100 in lost growth. Mishandling an inherited IRA? Up to $12,000 in avoidable taxes. That is a combined total of around $92,200, real money, real mistakes, and all preventable with the right guidance. Want to know how to supercharge your Roth IRA into $1 million retirement fund with just a $2,000 annual contribution and the 5 best ETFs? Click the video on the screen to find out.